Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross from PTCGRadio, and we're back with the first ever game I've played with my Weavile deck. I say my Weavile deck, it's not my Weavile deck. If you want to know lots about my Weavile deck and how it's constructed and the cards I'm using in what ratios and why I'm using them, go and check out the deck breakdown that I posted recently on my YouTube channel. That explains it in great detail. Like I did when I posted the deck breakdown of the winning deck from Malaysian Nationals, what I'm doing here is I'm showing you my very first game I ever played with it. Now, of course, my opponent's playing Darkrai against me, so he goes first and hits the laser. And it looks pretty bad from my point of view, because I have no supporter, and I have no Sneasel out, and I have no Jirachi, and I have none of my 4 level balls or 4 ultra balls. So I have 18 outs for supporter turn 1 with this deck, but I haven't hit any of them yet. Now, luckily, my opponent's having a fairly slow start, but he has got an Yveltal X out. And anyone that's played with or against Yveltal decks, which, quite frankly, is probably everybody who has a vague interest in the Pokemon trading card game, will know that all they need to do is get an Yveltal out with a few energy on, and if you're drawing dead, they will run through and win very, very quickly. So I draw again, and I hit a Juniper, which means I'm going to be able to get something going this turn. So I can attach an energy to my Sableye. And then I'm going to be able to scoop up Cyclone the Bunnery back, denying them a prize, and essentially that's working as a switch, getting my Sableye active. And then I can Juniper and hit my Sneasel. Now, I'd love to have an Ultra Ball here to get rid of a couple of Executes and get a second Sneasel out, but of course that's not an option. I don't have an Ultra Ball, so what can we do? I can Junk Hunt though, and I can get my Super Rod back to get some Pokemon back if they're killed, and I can get my Scoop Up Cyclone back, which, as discussed, is a brilliantly useful card, which can be used for wonderful things like saving a Jirachi that I've had to use, or even just scooping up a Pokemon to get 2 more in my hand, or 1 more in my hand to get that crucial KO with Vilify. Now here he wants to kill my Sneasel, and thank goodness he missed. That would be very, very bad. That would have been a bad situation, because then I'm left without a Sneasel. But he's still got his Yveltal, and he's still hit a supporter. So he kills me, and I'm not too worried here. I put a Bunnery up, because essentially what I want to do here is attach an energy, play the Juniper, hit a Dark Patch and a Lopunny, and then I'm going to be able to big jump the Lopunny back into my hand, and I'm going to be able to Vilify. So you see that I'm going to play my Super Rod, leaving 1 energy in a discard, so that I can use it for Dark Patch, but still getting my Sableye back, because I want to use it next turn. And you see there, I hit the Dark Patch, and I hit a Level Ball, so I'm going to be able to get my Lopunny. The problem is here, I'm not able to get a second Sneasel. Now, one option here would be to let him kill the Bunnery. Let him kill the Bunnery, and you see there's a slight glitch there, and then Level Ball for the second Sneasel, and then try and get the KO next turn. But the problem is, if he catches and kills my Weavile, I'll then need a Weavile and a Lopunny and a Dark Patch to get the KO. But I have a look in the discard pile, and I've only got 5 Pokemon. I'm not going to get the KO, he's going to kill me. This was a slight misplay on my part. Like I said, it's my first game with a deck, and you'll see here I'm not going to be able to get the KO. I've got no Sneasel on the bench, no way of actually getting the KO, and there's not even any DCE, so I can attack with Bunnery next turn. So I'm not going to get the KO. He's going to KO me back, and I'm going to run out of options. So here, I suppose I should have let him kill the Bunnery. You do have to watch yourself with Vilify here, but if you look at this game, what this really shows is that even though he's only got 1 Yveltal out, he's killing me just turn after turn after turn after turn after turn. I don't have enough Pokemon to get the 1-hit KO, and I'm just going to concede the game. Like I say, I could have left the Bunnery to be killed, but he plays Catcher, and you see that wheel comes up after some games now and gives you extra stuff, so, cheers for that. So I suppose I did make a slight misplay there, but the deck was faltering. I could never get a second Sneasel out. I was getting my Lopunnies out, I was getting my Execute out, but it wasn't really working. So let's try another game. And as you see, my opponent said to have an advantage here. That always makes me happy. That kind of gets my goat up. That makes me want to beat them. But my deck's already gone pretty bad, and like I say, I know there was a slight misplay in that game, but the fact of the matter is, I still would have needed a second Sneasel and a Lopunny next turn if he didn't hit the catcher, and if he did, I would have been, done in anyway. So I managed to go first here, and I'm playing against a Big Basics deck with Lugia. Not good, my Pokemon all die pretty darn quickly. But the difference in this game is, I can Ultra Ball to get a second Sneasel out. So I'm having a quick look through there, see which Pokemon I've got, and you will notice that I've got one Sneasel on the bench and one in deck. I have 2 Sneasel prized this game. That, ladies and gentlemen, is not good, especially when you've just seen me lose the previous game due to lack of Sneasels. But I can Dark Patch an energy onto a Sneasel, and then I can play my random receiver, hoping to goodness I don't hit Lysand, and I don't. I hit a Colress. Only for 4, but that'll do. At this stage of the game, the likelihood is, the stats are, I'm going to hit Supporter with my Colress. So I'm going to attach a Dark Energy here, and then that's pretty much going to be the end of my turn. But I'm going to attach it to the other Sneasel. By the way, I forgot this in the deck breakdown, but I'm playing 2 Sneasel. I'm only playing 1 of the 60 HP. It stops them retreating. It can buy you a turn. So the reason I have 1 energy on both Sneasel there, rather than putting 2 energy on 1, is a Big Basics deck is likely to be playing either Catcher or Lysand. And if he catches and kills my Sneasel, I need an energy and a Dark Patch to get a second one up. Now you'll see that I actually have an energy and a Dark Patch to get a second one up, but that's not something we want to rely upon. As it stands, I needed to draw 1 of my 6 energy to get a KO, to get the attack off, and that was looking pretty likely. So he's got the laser, but worse than that, he's got the DCE on the Mewtwo, but worse than that, he's got the Verbank, but worse than that, he's got the Muscle Band, so he's got the KO, but worse than all of that, he's got a Landorus out, and all of my Pokemon are weak to fighting. So if he gets that Landorus up, it's going to be a very long, hard slog. The good news is here, I can get a Buneary down, I can use me Level Ball to get a Weavile, so I've got an attack off this turn. And I can make sure that I get an energy onto the active, but also I can Dark Patch an energy onto the benched. So here, my game's going a lot better, because I've got 2 Weaviles. And this is how you really need to win with this deck. This is what went wrong in the previous game. And you can see there I can just Super Rod 1 Buneary back. Do be careful when you're Super Rodding with a deck like this. You don't want to accidentally Super Rod 2 Executes back into your deck. So you see here I've got my Tool Scrapper, which should be a Megaphone, but it doesn't really matter. And I've got 1 Execute in the discard pile. So I can play my first Power Pad, get a Colress and a Juniper back, just to up the chances of getting my supporter stream going, to increase the chances I'm going to keep having a supporter. I'm then going to Propagate, and the question is, do I discard 3 energy with 3 Pokemon with Vilify, or 2? And the answer is 3. The deck he's playing, I'm expecting him to be playing Catcher and or Lysand. He's playing a Lugia, which means he can get 3 prizes off of the Jirachi. And this is a deck where I only want to give up 1 prize at a time. I've still got a second Jirachi in deck, and I've just Power Padded 2 supporters back into my deck. So I'm unlikely to need the Jirachi, and it's too much of a liability against the Lugia. Now, of course, his Mewtwo gets a KO, but that's expected. In this turn now, I'm going to need a Weavile, and I'm going to need a second Sneasel. And then I can kind of keep going. Now here is an interesting question. Do I Juniper, keeping him at 3 cards, and getting an extra Execute in the discard? Or do I N, not put the Execute in the discard, and then, allow him to potentially have a card advantage? Now that Super Rod there you saw was fantastic. It got a Sneasel back, and I have no more Sneasel in my deck, as you know. It got a Weavile deck, and it managed to get that Jirachi back as well, so no downside there. So you'll see there that I've got a I played the Juniper because I wanted to get the cards back, and not really give him a card not give him a card advantage. The Juniper, I needed to go aggressive there. Now, here I'm looking at what I'm going to do with the Ultra Ball, and I've got a Buneary there, I've got an Execute I want to discard. Now I believe I'm going to make a mistake here, and this is a very silly mistake, I'm killing my Lysand to use the Ultra Ball. Now, of course, what I should have done there was use Propagation. Then I could have propagated a second Execute in my hand, and you can propagate turn after turn with the same Execute, because as soon as it comes into your hand and gets discarded, it's treated as a second Pokemon. So this was a really silly mistake on my part. I'm not used to the deck, although I have played Weavile before, so it's not really much of an excuse. But again, like I've said, these aren't games where I've tested with this deck loads. I'm showing you the first 2 games I played with this deck. We're seeing how this deck runs. And I'm being nice enough to point out the mistakes that I'm making. It's a little mistake at the end of the game. At the end of the day, if you look at where my deck is at the moment, I need to keep drawing Sneasel. I need to keep drawing Weavile, Energy, Dark Patch, and you see there I draw a Sneasel out of prizes, which is lovely. So really, I don't want to be using Lysand anytime soon. I've got to keep using draw supporters. So it's not the end of the world, but it was something I didn't have to do. So he does hit the laser there, but he doesn't hit the fighting energy, and that is absolutely huge on my part. If he hits the fighting energy there, he gets the KO. I've got no Sneasel with which to respond, and I've almost certainly lost that game. As it is, you see there what Hammerhead actually does. As it is, not only am I going to get an attack off this turn, but I'm going to get a KO because I've got Executes in the discard, and I've got 4 Execute in the discard, Lopunny on the bench. As I said in my deck breakdown, that is a recipe for 1-hit KO on any EX. So I can play the chorus knowing I don't have to hit anything, but what I do manage to hit here is a level ball, so I can get another Sneasel. And at this stage of the game, it's looking very good indeed. It looked very hairy at the beginning of the game. It looked like he was going to run through me like my previous opponent, but now I'm on it. Now you see that I've got 3 Dark Patch in the discard pile, so there's still 1 to go. So I can attach to the benched Sneasel. Again, sorry, my battery's running low. I'll plug it in. And what you can see there is that I can either draw one of my, remaining energy or a Dark Patch. I'm trying to make sure what my opponent doesn't do is capture and KO. So let's say, for argument's sake, I've got to attack with the active Weavile. He's going to get down to 60 at the end of the turn, which means if I put 2 energy on 1 Sneasel, my opponent can capture that Sneasel, and he'd have to play a laser. But he could play a laser and Hammerhead to do 90 damage to the Sneasel, kill that, kill the Weavile with bench damage, and then he would actually be knocking all my energy off the field. So, it's very important here that I put 1 energy on each Sneasel to maximise my chances of having a Weavile to attack with next turn. Now, you'll see there, of course, I am going to knock out this Landorus, but he's got a spare 1 on the bench. And I don't want to run into a Lysand or Catcher plus Landorus with fighting energy and laser scenario, because that would pretty much end the game there and then. So I'm just double checking I know what I'm doing. I can vilify 6 Pokemon, get the 1-hit KO, and now we're looking pretty tasty. I am going to lose that Weavile, even if it doesn't attack, it's going to die of poison, but I just need an energy, and I've got a Weavile in hand. He can end me to 2, but I've still got a bunch of supporters left, I've still got my Jirachis left in my deck, and you can see here that my opponent is trying to do the thing, but he misses the laser. That's what I was afraid of. But you see here, all I need is an energy, and I'm probably going to win this game. So I can pop the Weavile down, and as we level ball there, we see I've got a Lopunny in deck. That means that I am going to be able to get the KO if I've got just 1 energy. I've got 4 Execute in the discard pile, I've got a Lopunny on the bench, so I know a single energy will win me the game here. Now, I am just thinking what I'm going to do here, but I can just Juniper, I don't need any of that stuff, and I hit Dark Patch, Energy, and Scoop Up Cyclone. So I even could have Scoop Up Cycloned the active Weavile and used an energy to attach to the benched Weavile. Scoop Up Cyclone in this game, in this deck, is a fantastic card, and hopefully you can start seeing the utility here. So then I start the inevitable process to a win, and you see he's only taken 3 prizes. This is what this deck does. You saw the previous game, it didn't draw as well as it could, and as I said in my deck breakdown with all the Jirachis and stuff, there is a chance this deck is going to draw badly. And you saw at the beginning of this particular game that my opponent, he's playing Big Basics, he's taking early prizes. But when I get KOing with Weavile, my opponent can't really do anything, and it's almost like you're not playing against anybody when you do that. It literally is a case of, if I can keep getting Weavile with 2 energy on, and a Lopunny on the bench for executing the discard pile, I am going to win entirely regardless of anything that my opponent actually does. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely wonderful. So you can see that I do a ridiculous amount of damage and I get the victory. I hope all of this made sense. If you've got any questions about the deck, do ask it in the comments down below. And you see that I get the same 3 tokens off the wheel. I ain't complaining. And I get an extra 2 tokens because my opponent had an advantage and I still won. As always, if you're enjoying these videos, make sure you like them, make sure you subscribe, make sure you tell your friends. If you people keep watching these videos, I will keep producing this content, and I am doing it on a very regular basis at the moment, so give me that motivation to keep carrying on. As always, thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.